Can you hear us? Mark, can you hear us? Let's see, you may be on mute. Hold on, let me see what's going on here. Hold on, wait for it. And let's see, hold on. You can hear us, but we can't hear you. Oh, now we can hear you.
All right, I'm on.
There you go, modern technology.
This is great.
How are you, my brother?
Kind of, sort of, in a bad way. But
You know,
hey, Marla, how are you?
Great. How are you?
Doing well. I'm doing well.
Good.
So,
How are things with the lockdown by you?
you know what? Things got really scary in Wayne County. Scott knows kind of the area, but it's Detroit. So in Oakland County, the Orthodox community got hit pretty hard. Southfield and Oak Park, because of the, it really struck right around Purim. It was like 2 weeks before Purim and Purim. And I was actually at a Purim event at the shul. And there was a guy that came back from New York, and he was friends with my sister. And they went to, so it was like the 7th was a Saturday, the March 9th was a Monday, where you have the event at the shul. Yep. And the 10th is where you have your festival feast or whatever. And out of the 12 people that had dinner at the rabbi's house, 10 got COVID. So my sister was one of them.
Oh my goodness. Which, Dana?
Yeah, Dana. So
Goodness.
she was sick for maybe 4 weeks, and she's feeling a lot better. But only 3 got tested, and this is, remember, this was March like 14th, so it was early on. And
yes,
but, I mean, myself, I'm just laying low.
You absolutely need to lay low and smart,
Yeah.
and I'm sure if you're going out with a mask and gloves. And
when I go out, I just walk. It's like I'm like a dog. I get walked, I eat, and I shit. That's about it. So
thanks for sharing that.
Yeah, But Carolyn does all the shopping. And
oh yeah, that's perfect. I love it. How is she doing?
She's doing good. She's doing good. Yeah. So, but she can't cut hair. So the governor shut that down, I think March 17th. So, and she should be shut down to June 1st.
Wow.
So,
well, at least the warmer weather is Arizona, thankfully.
Yeah.
We have to take precautions, but it turns that into a lower spreading, the higher temperatures, and very grateful. And
what's your governor do? Like, did you have to shut the store?
They still have certain restrictions in place.
Yeah.
And they are opening the businesses up slowly. They say this week, which is incredible because I actually did see more cars on the road, but still people and businesses. A great example, Costco, just a message, you have to wear a mask and gloves when you come in. If not, sorry, you can't come in. And people don't want to hear that sometimes, and it's for everyone's safety. So
people are so stupid sometimes, I just don't get it. It's like, wear a mask. I mean, is it going to kill you?
Right.
It won't kill you if you don't. But
really, and my kids give me a hard time, and I mess with them. I don't wear a mask, but I do wear gloves when I go into the stores. I have them in my car.
Well, you're too good looking to wear a mask.
What's that?
You're too good looking to wear a mask.
Okay.
Well, but I don't know. I mean, I don't know. My opinion is, I know how horrible this is going to sound, but the percentages of the people that get severely sick is pretty small.
Yes.
That's what they tell us, at least. So, which is good. I think that they just didn't want to overwhelm the whole hospital system, especially in New York, so of all places. So I don't know. I mean, everyone has their own political views of everything, but is there any good that's going to come out of it? Who knows? I think there is some good that could come out of it.
There's always light at the end, right?
I mean, I've been on like 4 Zoom calls today, not just with friends, but like learning, and it's an incredible experience. So
We really believe this is a gift, and you and I, Mark, have had the discussions of, and we share this every day with everyone we speak with, that when we look at things happening for us versus to us, right, and it brings us to the next place in our lives, and it makes us who we are today. And sometimes, as you and I know, and Marla and Carolyn know, sometimes these gifts come in the form, God forbid, of tragedy, or God forbid, of sickness or obstacles. But when we can look at why or how, and the souls that were brought together because of that, and yes, as hard as it sounds, that no one likes to be inside, but it's allowing, for the first time, families to communicate, or spouses, or people reaching out to friends they haven't spoken to, whether in a year or decade. And it's allowing people to look inside themselves for the first time to find the answer, versus the external world, thinking the external world is going to bring them their happiness.
And what defines you, you got to search for that.
Yeah, it's I love that, Mark. It's asking, who are we for the first times versus who we've been programmed to be our whole lives.
Right. It's
and
true.
And one, thank you seriously for being on this call with us. Your family, regardless.
This is so difficult for me.
No, I know.
I had to really travel far into my computer. But
you had to get up and move to the. I totally.
I didn't have to fly in a red eye. That's for sure. So.
Well, so this tonight that we're going to record, this is. I haven't. I mean, other than a very select group of dear close friends or family, have Marla and I really shared our story, what took place. And this is, which is really interesting, it is 2 years to the day, pretty much, that I was in Michigan. And I
it was actually, I think, May 5th was a Saturday.
Yeah, it was yesterday, because the picture of what I shared with you was the day that was Saturday or Sunday, because I left Sunday. So I don't even know how to start this incredible, miraculous story. But
I know how to start it.
Okay,
it would be a.
I'm going to let you take.
Okay, well,
brother.
I will start the story. And that was as simple as this. Scott and I have not seen each other for 15 years. Okay, it was at a reunion. I met Marla and your family, and we were eating at Ventana Canyon, I believe, as our reunion. So, back up, that was the last time I actually saw you. And, I mean, we weren't doing Zoom calls in the last 15 years, so there was no, and I think we did trade some Facebook posting when your mom passed away. And I think you reached out to me to tell her that she passed away from lung cancer. And you heard I had lung cancer. And that was probably the last time we really corresponded with each other. And then all of a sudden, I'm attending a cancer meeting. And it was a Tuesday night. And it was, I think it was probably like April 30th or April 29th, one of those days. And it's a 602 number. And remember, it's like 8 o'clock my time. And I'm at convertible top down. I'm driving on Northwestern Highway. And I see it 602. I'm like, there's no way that, it doesn't say like Scott Berger or anyone. It just says 602. And I figured to myself, can't be a solicitor, at 8 o'clock at night. It has to be someone that I know at 602, right? And I answered, and you said to me, Mark, it's Scott Berger. I'm like, hey, what's going on? How are you? And then you said to me, I have a gift for you. And I said, oh, thank you very much. But if you really, figure that, some people say to me, if I get sick, I want to give you like something. You just if you can get a donation, like, no, it's a gift. It's a gift. It's a special gift. And I said, okay, thinking that you would like to just, tell me like, hey, what's your address? Blah, 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 And then you said, but you have to FaceTime me. I said, okay, well, I can do it at 11 o'clock your time, nighttime, which whatever, 8 o'clock your time or 9 o'clock. So we FaceTime, and that's how the story starts.
Wow. It's funny, you forget about those details because so much not only happens within a day, but think about a year and 2 years ago.
Yeah.
And I remember because we were sitting in our old house in the library, and I shared the journey of Marla and I receiving the vision of the tree of life and the intention stick. And I think we were on that call for probably 2 hours, if I'm not mistaken. Does that sound about right?
Well, I think you served for the first hour, and I flipped in for the second hour.
Yeah, yeah.
But I mean, it was some crazy stories. But I can tell you from my angle how the story started. You said I have this gift, and I do meditation and I pray, and I got this design of some sort into my meditation, and it's a tree, and it's from the tree of life, and then you start telling me about your attention sticks, and then your trip to Windsor Castle, and the guard telling you your vision, its vision,
Yes.
and I'm just like, okay. Most people like would just sit there and say, "What's this guy talking about? Like he's smoking something," and I just let you go, and I'm like, like, oh, I better not run out of battery on my phone, plug it in and make sure. And I had it propped up, and I've had some crazy things happen to me. And I said, "You want, brother? I believe you." We haven't talked in 15 years or whatever. I'm like, "I believe everything you said." I said, "I got some stories to tell you." And we chatted for, probably a good hour and a half or so.
Yeah.
And you said, "Well, before you get it, you have to call me because I have to bless it. And you got to tell me the words you put in it."
Yes.
And I was like, "Okay, whatever," kind of like forgot about it. Right. And from my end, this is what happened on my end. So it's funny because I've never really retold the story blow by blow. Most of the time I skip over parts, but since we have nothing to do anyways, and Marlo's never heard this side, I might as well, tell you from my angle how everything looked. Well, first of all, let me give you a little background to. If anyone else is in my room, they'll probably throw up because I've heard this story too many times. But you know, um, I've had cancer since 2012, right? So it's been now, almost 8 years. But I'm a pretty upbeat person. I figured, you got to roll with the punches, and it's out of my control. But I was not a spiritual person at all. You know, um, I started dating someone who was very spiritual, and so that was in June of 2017. I got divorced, and I went on a date with someone I've known since middle school, and she's a shaman and very spiritual. And on her second date, she says to me, um, "Hey, you got to see my shaman," And I'm like, "I'm my shaman teacher," and I said, "How much does he charge?" Hold on for 1 second. All right. So any clarification?
I love it.
I I'm going to be a shaman, and you should see my shaman teacher. And I'm like, okay, well, how much does it cost? And she said like $70. I'm like, yeah, fine, for $70, why not, right? Figuring the Hollywood shaman, spitting water on you, dancing around you, what the hell? I can't lose. And so that started my spiritual journey. And I did see the shaman on many occasions. That he blew me away with some of the things that he said, and that he could not have known, And so my life was continuing on, and I was doing well, and I was dating Carolyn, and then this phone call happened with you, and um, Friday the necklace shows up. Well, and I don't know what came over me, and this I didn't never called you, and I don't know if I even told you this story, but um, I said to my father, because he told me about the Hebrew background of the 22 letters, and you went into details about the necklace, and which I don't know anything besides getting bar mitzvah and then cashing my checks and not going back to shul unless it was the high holidays, and sometimes I overslept for those. And so I go ahead, and the necklace comes, and I only have one arm that works. My other arm is kind of not paralyzed, but I'm disabled from that perspective from the surgery, my brain surgery. So I send my dad, I'm like, my buddy sent his necklace, and we gotta. It's a powerful necklace, If I, at the some point, I'm living with my parents, and it's another story within itself. But I said, my dad, you gotta pick up these 22 words to put in. We got to fit these things into this necklace, and I can't unscrew the top, right? So he's like, okay, and my dad's like, give me like one of those, like, sure, why not? So we're going through, and he's like, health. I said, I don't need health. I said, it is what it is. Whatever happens, happens. So I don't even know what words we picked out. I know oneness was one of them. For me, that was like a big word for some reason. And so he screws it in, puts them around my neck. And I'm like, Dad, you can't put it on my neck now. I'm like, you're supposed to say the Shema. My dad's like, what? I'm like, yeah, you say the Shema. Just the Shema Yisrael and Eloheinu and Echad, right? Hear, O Israel, Hashem is our God, Hashem is one, right? Is our watch faith of Judaism. And remember, at this time, I'm not religious, but it was like so important to me to say that. So, hold on, I got someone chirping in my ear right now. No, I've not been to shul yet.
Why did you say to him, I'm going to shul tomorrow morning?
Well, that will come in later.
That's coming after, yeah.
So anyway, he's fighting with me, and my father, he's, was kind of raised conservative, but he wouldn't do it, and I demanded that he did it, and we fought for like a half hour. I'm like, that's all you have to do is just say this and put it, the necklace around my neck, and he put it around my neck, and and then I showered, and I came out of the shower, and I thought to myself, wow, this is crazy. I got to call Scott, and so I picked up the phone and called you, and I'm in my towel, and I say to you, oh, okay, I got the necklace on, you got to say your prayer. You're like, what are the words? So I'm like, I don't remember what the words. I don't I don't remember much. So I go get I get the cardboard piece, and I said, here's the piece of cardboard. I punched out these. Tell me what the words are. And you told me. And as you were telling me the words, I kept on saying to you, what does that mean? Like, what does that mean to you, Scott? What does that mean to you? And I was kind of questioning you, and it kind of put you to the test. And I'll let you take it away from there, from your end.
Well, wow. Well, one, thank you for sharing what led up to that evening, because it starts to get pretty heavy. So I started, of course, we did our blessings as we do for everyone. And I gave you the information that not just the 3 words that you chose at that time, according to Kabbalah, that each one of the words has 72 different interpretations. So much more powerful than what that one word represented. It was beyond just a word. It was a much deeper meaning. And I said to you that your journey was just beginning, and it's going to be miraculous. And I know we talked for much longer, and I explained right now, for the first time in a very long time, your heart walls are down, right? That because like the rest of the world, they're up to protect all the negativity and junk trying to come in, but it doesn't allow all the good to come in. So I said to you, they're down for the first time in a very long time. And I said, from your crown chakra, the top of your head, to your heart chakra, that connection's clear. But I said to you that your connection, whether someone says Hashem, God, the universe, the source, the light, whatever that is to that person, I said, your connection is fully there. And I said that your journey is just beginning and you have to trust that. And I saw you fill up. And we smiled, we said, I love you to one another, and we left that conversation, that call. So I don't know how much time went back, because it's, again, 8 o'clock Friday night. And Marla and I and the kids, we observe the Shabbos, we have Friday night dinner, we light candles, and then next day normally shul, or I stay home and I do prayers. And I don't know if it was an hour later, and it probably was about an hour later, you called me up in, I don't even know, but it was a very elevated state saying, you need to be here tomorrow morning in Michigan at shul in West Bloomfield, because a miracle is going to take place. And you hung up. Now, most people in this world of reality would say, Mark is absolutely out of his mind. He could be on medication. And have a nice life. It was great talking with you for those moments. That's not what I received. To my heart, I questioned what you shared with me, and I said to my wife and our children, and you can chime in because it was surreal. I said, you know me for 30 years. I don't usually, well, one, I don't travel on the Sabbath, but normally only time if I do drive, it's to shul for prayers. And I said to Marla, something's telling me I need to go. Now, this is, again, 9 o'clock at night, and I'm talking to my wife that I need to jump on a plane at 11 o'clock at night and fly to Michigan to go visit Mark, who I haven't seen in 15 years. And prior to that, it was probably 15 or 20 prior to that, other than, like you said, hi, how are you, Facebook, whatever it may be. And I don't remember what you said to me. I know it started getting...
Well, what we talked about, because he was really torn. Do I go, or do I listen to the message and do I go, or is this really silly on my part? And what we talked about was, let's remove time and let's remove money from the equation, because again, he's booking a flight that's leaving in a few hours to go to Michigan was pretty expensive. And so when we remove time, meaning being away from his family, traveling on the Sabbath, which is not something that he does, and going to a state where he's from that he doesn't have a connection with or typically visits, that was a big step for him. And he said, yeah, I have to go. When he removed those pieces from the equation, he said, I still have to go.
You know what's interesting is I was in a kind of a different state of mind. It was like, as soon as my father put that necklace on, and there was other things that happened during that week after our phone call that I have no explanation of. That it was it was interesting is, on the background of it was, I think it was the day after your phone call, where I gotta get my timeline right, but I kept on feeling like an energy leaving me at night, and I don't know if this is going out to many people, but it was such a powerful experience of what I was feeling that I said to my psychologist, I'm like, look, I said, I know this is crazy, but I need you to meet with the rabbi. And this was a rabbi who saw me at the hospital in January, and a Chabad rabbi who laid some tefillin on me. And it took me months to look him up. And it was right in the same time period as your week. Okay, so all these things are like lining themselves up, and I have no explanation for them. And it started with this inner feeling that I had, because in the hospital I had some experiences, and this inner feeling that I had that I was connected to my soul, and my soul was, you know, and I have not spoken about this to many people, you know, because it sounds crazy, you know, but I had this experience that my soul was leaving at night, you know, because I had that experience in the hospital, and I really thought I had like a near death experience, and I had that same feeling that I had at the hospital. So I called my psychologist and I said, "You got, I have to talk to the rabbi that I saw at the hospital." And explain to him that something's going on, and you know, is this possible? And the rabbi looked at me, and he's only met me like 2 or 3 times, right? And he says to me, "Who's this?" And I said, "This is my psychologist." And the 3 of us sat down, and I said, "I know this sounds crazy, but my psychologist can tell you that I'm not crazy." And she says, "He's not crazy." And I said, I've been having this experience, and it happened the same week you called, okay? And it was like my soul wanted something, and I wasn't recognizing it, okay? And in Judaism, at least in Chabad, which they believe in your 2 parts of your soul, your animal soul and your godly soul. And an animal soul is what we possess typically from our needs, you know, and our wants, you know. And then you have a godly soul, which wants to make a connection with the source, let's call him God, you know, and what you've mentioned before. And this all happened in the same week, you know, which was the most amazing thing, because some of these events happen and I have no explanation to this day. And you and I have talked about it on many occasions. And so picking up on the storyline, so I meet with my Orthodox rabbi. Remember, I'm not Orthodox. And he says to me, "Come to shul on Saturday." And I said to him, and I was in sweatpants. I'm like, "I only have sweatpants." And I says, "I can't go to shul because at that point in time, I was, you know, a jokester. I was like, I don't have any fancy clothes." He says, "Come in your sweatpants." And I said, "Okay." So he says, "Come Saturday." I said, "Sure, I'll see you Saturday." Then Scott Berger comes into the situation on Tuesday. So I saw the rabbi on Monday. I see your call on Tuesday. The necklace comes. For some reason, I want my father to say the Shema. He won't say it. And then when I made that phone call to you, and I remember the phone call, and you said to me, this is afterwards, and I know my timeline's bouncing around, but like a month afterwards, this whole incident, I said to you, "Scott, please tell me why you would hop on a plane. We haven't seen each other in 15 years. Why?" You said to me the following. There were some things that you said to me that only when I pray, I think about them. And I don't remember what I said to you. And you don't have to say what I said to you, but I touched something of you that made you want to come to Detroit and hop on that plane. And then I said to you, that's when I said to you, "I'm going to shul on Saturday," which is the next day. I said, for the first time in I don't know how long, and if you really believe in me, you'll show up. You know, and we kind of, it's like I challenged you, and you said something to me that really touched you, and there was a soul connection of some sort, you know. And looking back at it 2 years later, I still question, like, what the hell happened, you know. And the events continue for that, like, 48 hours that you were there. How many hours were you in Detroit?
So what was to bounce back a hair. So I jumped on a red eye at 11:30 at night in Arizona, and I arrived the next morning at 6:30 in the morning, Michigan time.
Mm-hmm.
And I said, Mark, I'm here. And you said to me, what are you talking about? He says, I'm at the Detroit
Yeah.
airport. He says, go back home, is what you said to me. You said, turn around, go back home. You don't need to be here. And I'm on the phone, and it's kind of like, I almost felt like a ton of bricks being dropped on me, like that weight, like, what do you mean turn around? You just told me a miracle is taking place. You need to be at shul on Saturday. Be there or I'll never speak to you again.
I think quote unquote was that the Messiah's going to be there.
Yeah.
I was, I mean, some crazy stuff was being said.
And I also knew that was a test. Of course, again, I could have said, what the heck, and jumped back on the phone back to Michigan and said, it was a test. And I said, absolutely not. And from there, I had taken a cab to West Bloomfield from the airport to show up at shul. I was there at 9 o'clock. No one's there. I'm in the sanctuary doing prayers and just meditating. Beautiful place ever, and looking out the woods from the glass window, and just I knew I was home. I knew I needed to be there. And you walk in.
Well, before you walk in, I'll tell you what happened on my end. So I don't know what time shul starts, okay? And so it starts at 9:30, but I have no clue because I barely even slept if I slept. And I remember the phone call with you in the morning, and I'm like, I don't know what to do, whatever. And I'm like, and now I was at the point where like, you know what, God wants me to be in sweatpants. So I'm like in my sweatpants, and I kind of run in shul, and I hear people talking, right? And I go into this little room, and they're doing a study. They're doing a study on a mimer, and Hasidic mimer about idol worshiping or something. I don't remember. And it was Kabbalah stuff. And I'm like, what time does shul start? And he's like, oh, we got another half hour. And then I walk out of the room, and the head rabbi comes up to me and says, your friend's here from Phoenix. I'm like, okay. And there I walk into the shul, and I have a tallis on, sweatpants. And there's Scott. Man, you look great. He looks like he's haven't taken the red eye flight. And you're like, here, come and sit in the front row. And I remember, I've never really been to an Orthodox service. And the service starts, and you're praying away. And I'm just sitting there, and I it gives me chills today. And I had the tallis, and I see a bunch of guys around me that tallis kind of wrapped over their head, So I'm like, I can't even hold a prayer book, or even though it's in English, everything's in Hebrew. And I just start swaying back and forth with these guys. And I have the tallis over my head, and it's kind of like I'm doing like a Stevie Wonder, but I'm feeling it. I'm saying? It's like, I mean, it hit me. And I'm telling you, I like, my hair's, stood up. And I remember you and I'm like, I just grab your hand, and we're just, it's like I was at a rock concert, and I really was. It was like just an unbelievable feeling. And then the rabbi comes up to me and says, you're a Levite. And I'm like, yeah. He's like, do you know your mom's Hebrew name and your dad's Hebrew name? I'm like dumbfounded. I just stood there. And a guy who I knew, who I've not talked to in years, comes up to me and says, I know your mom's Hebrew name. Because, I do a Mishaberach for you every week. And I'm like, and it's such a small world. And I said, how'd you even get my Hebrew name? He says, from Karen, who's my ex-wife. So it's just like such a small world, And so here I am with the guy that flows across the country, and I don't even know my own parents' Hebrew names, but he does. And I get this aliyah, I go up there, and in this shul, it's the bima is in the center, right? So everyone's sitting around, and I go walking up there in my sweatpants, and I walk with a cane, and I get up there, and everyone doesn't know who I am. And I get up there, and it's like my bar mitzvah all over again. Thank God they had a cheat sheet next to me, and I did the prayers, and I just thought that something was going to come down from the heavens, and it's just unbelievable experience. To this day, I can't explain it, but it was like my soul called somebody, and he called you, and you just happened to be the guy that delivered it. And I don't know if I did anything in reciprocity backwards towards you, but that's how our day started that morning. And it was just to this day, those events and other events that happened within the time period that you were in Detroit, I have no explanation for some of them. And the interesting thing is, and we found out later through the connection, was the rabbi that came to the hospital, and the one who I spoke to, and the one who convinced me to come, was that he runs the Danny Sobel house. And you can tell me who the Danny Sobel is.
So, one, thank you for just taking us back to that. It was a miraculous day, and as you and I were, excuse me, you and I were sitting in the front row, and just the love in that room was so powerful. And yes, you were sitting down, and I was sitting down. We were holding hands, and for probably an hour, and you were just in it, and you were just receiving so much, and your soul was being so elevated and filling back up. And we walked up to the bima for the honor of the Torah reading, and I also was so grateful because the rabbi gave me the honor of an aliyah to do as well. And it was incredible. And as also you just mentioned, a dear friend of ours who passed at the age of 27, Danny Sobel, who that shul and that beautiful center for Friendship Circle was started. And I also know that was Danny's way of his sarcastic, I know he had a little bit to deal with this and guiding, but because there was an interesting part of that afternoon that I'll share, that most people wouldn't understand, as you and I and Marla are talking right now, that as that, sorry, I'm going back, but all I can say is that Saturday, that Sabbath was miraculous, because as we were one soul together, I see that what this world has forgotten is that all of our souls in this world are connected, and we should feel the same, or those messages that we receive that we never listen to, we never respond, we never react, and these are all tests that we face in life, and we pass or fail. And I don't know if we'll ever know in this lifetime the impact that took place on that day, but I know that we both grew together. Our souls grew together, and they're continuing to grow, and that's again why we're here. We're here to grow every day. And why you just mentioned Danny Sobel, beautiful soul, one of our dearest and closest friends, who Harrison, our oldest son, is named after. His Hebrew name is Menachem Daniel, after Danny. And right after Danny passed, Marla and I were in Michigan. This is going back 27 years ago. And the same rabbi that came to you is asking Marla and I in the JCC in the cafeteria, what do you think about this idea of starting this beautiful center where people can come and get help who maybe are going through certain difficulties or challenges in life. And we said, it's the most beautiful idea ever, and it's so needed. And that's how the friendship circle started, that one miraculous day. And I know that also, and I know you're feeling this too, Marla, that Danny guided us, right, to bring us together again, even though we were apart for 15 years, but much bigger than that day. This is a story that we're sharing, I think, for the world to witness right now, that we need to be there for one another, no matter what someone's going through in life. We have to show up, right? Regardless if it's the closest friend in your life or an acquaintance that we happen to meet one day. It's just, we have to listen to this. And we always question this. We always question this, but this whole story is based on trust, right? That we have to trust the journey and understand that we're always being guided. And this world doesn't do that anymore, because we're always...
I would also add the profound intention behind Mark when he chose oneness.
Absolutely.
Because
that was and I remember you and I talking about that, and I just said, if everyone felt oneness, you don't need anything else. And that's what I said to my father. I'm like, that's the only one I should put in there. And then I said, well, how many can you shove in there? And he said, I think I can get 5. I said, okay, shove 5 in there. But health, I never asked for help. And it's funny. It's like, and it ended up being in there, by the way, because when you told me, when I held up that die card, and I said, I didn't put that in there. But I thought to myself, if there was one thing I had to pick, it'd be the oneness. Because, and the more I'm studying and the more I'm learning, I firmly believe that you learn until the day you die, right?
Right.
Until you pass. And, I just recently, the oneness is, I always said to my rabbis, it's like, what are we, like, what are we, what do we always want in the world? Like, what are we praying for, what is the most important thing? Like, everyone around the world right now is praying, right? Most likely. And they're praying in different languages. They're praying to different gods, a god. They're praying, or some of them are spiritual, and they say there is no God, but there is a higher power, or there is a light, or there's whatever. The bottom line is, we all are one, and that's not some profane statement, but sometimes it gets like muddled in the books, the prayer books, I guess, maybe not. But anyways, that was important to me.
You're so right. And it's interesting that you're bringing this up, because I had that statement a week ago. I shared with Marla in meditation and in prayer that this world, regardless of, as we know, there's no black, white, pink, yellow. There is no Christian, Jewish, Buddhist, Muslim. Our souls are the same. And yes, we all pray in different languages and different times, but we are all praying, again, whether we say God, the universe, the source, the light, whatever that is, to that individual. And sorry, our angels are messing with us, which is actually pretty funny and validation. But I said, we are praying for the oneness. And this is, if we could just take a step back and understand to look at everyone as our true brothers and sisters, that we are all the same, again, that our souls are the same, and that we're praying for the same thing, because we are a collective. Every one of our souls in this world are connected. And when we can achieve that, which we will, because as I shared with you, Mark, that going back 4 years was Marla's vision, all the different visions we've had, but that everyone in the world would be wearing an intention stick in every language and in Braille, and that we would all insert the word oneness at the same time. Because as you said, we don't need to die or transition to go to heaven. It's all around us. It's everywhere we are, and it's within us all, but it's just covered up with all of the years or decades or generations of programming to think that we should be different, or I'm better, or more religion, or more ego, or more money, or whatever it may be. And that is a facade. That is an illusion. Because when we can see, when we help one another, whether it's one soul or the entire world, and you know what it says in the Talmud, it says when you save one soul, you save the world entirely. And to us to really think this way and live that way and know touching one soul will create exactly that peace and that bliss and that oneness, then that's why we're all here. That's why we wake up each morning, because we want to reach another one soul, another 100 soul, another 7 billion plus souls, and we will, and we're doing this together. It has nothing to do with Marla and I. It's about us collectively. And that weekend was, I'll say it a million times over, was miraculous, because the stories, when we're sitting in your backyard, your out of body experience again, the angels, these aren't things normally are spoken, but people have these things happen to them all the time. They just question it, or something's wrong, or this isn't normal. And we're not taught spirituality. We're taught wake up, have breakfast, go to work, make a paycheck and come home, or wake up, have breakfast, go to school, come day, week, year, decade, and we have no idea why. And it goes back to the very beginning of this conversation, is that we have to let everyone in this world understand who they truly are for the first time. The I am that I am. And when we can see that we're perfect just how we are, we don't need to be anyone other than who Mark is.
You know what's interesting is, and I want to share this with who by the way, who is our audience? Just the two of us?
Oh, this is just us now. It'll be.
Okay, I'll be honest with people. As I'm talking to a computer with myself in the room, you said something that was pretty profound to me, and it's still a battle. And that is, I said something like, I'll paint a picture for people. All right, things came easy to me. I was athletic. I wasn't the smartest guy in the room, but I got through, and things came easy. And then when I had been battling cancer, I had some issues with my brain tumor, and I had surgeries and chemos, and it beats you up after a while. It takes a beating on you, and so physically, I'm not the same person, right? So you have to accept that, and deal with that. And so it's not just the cancer you're dealing with, you're also dealing with physical loss, I guess you can say. And I must have made some statements, and I don't remember what they were. And you were like, don't say that. Do you know what you're saying? And I'm like, no, what did I say? You said that you're stupid or something. And I'm like, I said that? And you're like, yeah. And you said anything. And Carolyn says the same thing. Anything you put out there, is, it's like you're telling you're putting in the universe, and you shouldn't be putting in the universe. And it's called I guess it's an attention that you're not even trying to throw out there, and you're kind of joking about it, but you are throwing it out there, And till this day, it comes down to, you really can't love anyone until you love yourself, and if you beat yourself up to a point where you have a low self-image, and I'm not telling you have to be egotistical, but I'm talking about just your inner voice has to be, in frame to, give love. Do you know what I'm saying? And I don't know if I'm not poetic about how I said it, but I think you get what I'm saying. But you did say that to me in the backyard.
I know I did.
You sat me down and you said, look, you got to be kinder to yourself, basically.
Mark,
And some magical stuff happened in the backyard.
it did.
So,
wow. And thank you for, again, just resharing that, because, and it's a lesson for everyone, even myself, because sometimes we forget, or it's a moment of you're upset or something, you react. And again, what we put out comes back, right? So if you say oh, I'm dumb, or I'm angry, I'm upset, or I'm frustrated, only more of that comes back in. And yes, it's heard. But if, as you just said, if we're putting out more love and kindness and happiness and joy, only more, and health, only more of that comes back in. Again, I am health, I am kindness, I am love, I am oneness. These are the intentions, these are the words, these are the vibrations that we're raising, that reverberates throughout the universe, and it comes back in because you're setting those intentions from your heart. You're not just randomly, or just, oh, I'm going to do this. All right. No, you have to feel it. You have to believe it. You have to see it.
You have to be mindful of it.
Yes. And I'm not one to not have words, and I'm still speechless, because this story is just, it is miraculous. And your words came true, because here we are sitting 2 years from the day or the weekend that this took place, that thank God I'm talking to you. You're healthy, your soul, your whole being has grown. And talk about, we're given gifts and lives. And as I know you understand, your sickness was a gift for you to elevate your soul to a level that you may not have ever achieved. And I don't know that, I'm just talking out loud.
I mean, you guys know the author Viktor Frankl,
Yes.
Man's Searching for Meaning. It's what defines a person is what's thrown to you, and there's books written by a tremendous amount of people, self-help books and spiritual books, and it's funny. Not funny. I always use that phrase, funny. It's not funny. It's profound. But in our cancer meetings, go around the room. What's your self-worth? And your self-worth is not what you accumulate. It's not what you. It's none of that. And the person who was running it, who's has been in that as a social worker for 40 years. She basically, no relative of someone who passes away will sit there and say, that person didn't leave me enough money, that just passed away. It's self-worth. It's the gifts that you're giving people. And the gifts that you're giving people are as love, memories, relationships. And that's what it's all about. It's not about what's in my bank account. Yes, you have bills to pay. Yes, we have obligations that we have to do. But, it's being in that moment. And unless a person who is quote unquote terminally ill, we do live in the moment, because you have two choices. You can curl up in a ball and throw it in a towel, or you could live in the moment. And what you brought to me was the spiritual side of that, because I think I was living in the moment at the point in time, but I did not have a connection to, they call it, tefillah connection, right? In Judaism, which is you have a connection to the source. And I didn't have that. When my therapist said to me, what's your faith? I said, what do you mean faith? I said, I'm Jewish. She said, no, what's your faith? What's your belief? And I'm like, I don't know. I'm going to go 6 feet under, and that's it. And within 2 or 3 generations, I'm a picture, and it's not that. What it's about is a connection with the oneness of people, of your creator. And I don't care what you believe in, you all come to the same point, of that intersection. And I think we all try to figure it out in our lifetime, what that gift is, and everyone has their own, they call it mission or journey. My journey was, we intersected, for some reason, the cosmos made us intersect. We did not see each other for 15 years. Your soul made a phone call to me. I picked it up and we had some goofy conversations, that led you to fly on Shabbat to see me. And it just, took off from there. And to this day, when you sent me the photo, Scott texted me a photo this morning with the two of us. To this day, I will call you up and say, please, why did this happen? How did this happen? And you fit me in a couple things here or there, through the years. But to this day, I don't tell this story because Hollywood would even believe it, and it's just craziness that brought this together, and it elevated me to a level of learning and a level of, I guess I would say my tefillah, my connection. And like I said, that's my goal in life right now, is to get a better connection, get better reception, because I think that this is not our only journey. We got money stops along on the bus stop. This is just one of them, and the more we can have relationships in life, the more we can have friendships and have good quality friendships, and not just have 4,000 Facebook admirers, but good friendships. And I think the better this world will be. And the oneness, if we all believe in oneness, I truly think that we have a better world. And you did bring that to me. And I'm typically, I'm not as emotional as you. You get emotional sometimes, but it does touch my heart. It really does, truly. And Marla, thank you for allowing this man to fly across the country. So, it was a crazy, a bunch of 24 hours. How long was it, by the way? You flew in at what time?
So I arrived, I think I was there for 36 hours. So I flew out at 11:30 at night. I arrived 6 in the morning. I left the next morning, I think, Sunday morning. I think I flew out at 10 a.m. So I think I was there pretty much 36 hours, and 36 hours felt like about a year, because and there's so much more that took place in this story that we would need a sleepover and a long weekend to share.
I don't think people would actually believe us. No. That's the problem. And I said to you, Harrison's a writer, right? Yes. And you're like, yeah. I'm like, yeah, we got a story to tell one day,
This will be. I'm so grateful for this, and what I share with you that you just shared with me is exactly what we're talking about, which is we were divinely guided. And what we're sharing, what you just said about your journey and your tefillah, is the tree of life. That is why we're all here. We're here to grow every day and learn every day. And it's not being better than anyone else in this world. It's being better than who we were yesterday. And I am honored to call you my friend, my brother, my teacher, because what you gave me was the most beautiful gift you could have ever given me. So thank you.
Thank you, brother. You gave me the same.
And truly, our journeys are just beginning. That.
I truly believe that.
I know.
Every day is a journey. And try to make it a good one.
Being the beautiful light that you are, because your story is going to touch so many others. And that's why
Well, that's all we're here for, right?
right? 100%. It's the soul to soul connection.
And it is, and we intersected, and I don't know why. I don't know. Until this day, I mean, you and I have known each other for a long period of time, since probably high school or earlier, and it's just amazing. When I got that phone call, I was like, Scott Berger. I mean, what? Where did that come from? So
that when we can start to see why we were brought into our lives 40 years ago, literally, and we were, on and off and friendly and not, again, never,
yeah,
it was just acquaintances. And
do a lot of people.
Marla and I say we were brought together for a bigger purpose and a divine reason, right?
I believe that.
For that moment in time 2 years ago, pretty much to this day. And
One day later.
And it was miraculous. And
It was May 5th, 2018. I got the dates written down because I did not believe the events that happened. So, and the only person besides my immediate family and a few friends, my psychologist mostly hears most of my stories. No one else believes me. But because they're so, and I think it's sad. And the reason I think it's sad is this. I think a lot of people have experienced some things I can't explain. And things that, like you say, I think people are not aware of, I want to get this word right, not aware of things that happen that, help me out here,
They don't pay attention to
they don't pay attention, exactly. They're exactly. I mean, they're so used to getting up at 7:00 in the morning, brush their teeth, go get their Starbucks and go to work, and they don't see all the things that they can pick up on. Their antenna is not up. And
right.
and I think we've lost that. I think that's happened through thousands of years, probably, and we just need to regain that. And it's not a religious statement. It's just a statement of mankind, humankind. So,
so right. It's sharing this story. We're awakening the souls because the souls have been asleep, or just like you said, programmed to think everything other than what we really need to think as an individual. No one thinks for themselves anymore. No one looks from within because they may not want to find the answer, right? And
it's possible.
We're waking those beautiful souls up just with this story.
Yeah, it's a crazy story. It's a story that I don't have any other stories that can top this one.
It's good, and there'll be many more stories to come from this, and anything you want to. I don't know if I can. The bar is so high with this conversation. I don't think we can raise it, but thank you.
You know what the takeaway is? I think the takeaway is you just don't know what life is what's gonna come your way, and when we back up, and I think you made a point about taking things that happen in your life and trying to awaken yourself or turn good things into it. I really, and I say this, I know how crazy this might sound to some people, but being sick in this illness, and I don't even want to use those words, it's an experience, and I'm a different person for the better, because of it. And I thought I was a nice person beforehand, and I have two cancers. I'm not lucky enough to have one, right? So, I don't know. I just really honestly want to say to whoever sees this video that you got to really wake up, and you got to have gratitude, and you got to be thankful every day you wake up, and if you can live in the style of life that most of my friends live in who have cancer, who are supposedly terminal, every day we Zoom every day because we can't see each other, and we just laugh about simple things we're so grateful to be here. And I think if people really took that and were appreciative of what they have, not worry about what they should have or what they don't have or what they lost, life will be so much better for everyone. So
We're all blessed,
I
truly.
am grateful for you.
The same. I love you so much, and I can't wait for our next call and just the stories that you continue to share. And thank you for being in our lives. And
Thank you.
we love you, and you're with us every day.
Thank you. Love you guys too.
My brother.
And
Everyone
stay safe in Scottsdale.
Safe
Yes.
and
All
grateful.
right. Thank you. You too. Take care. See you
Love
guys.
you, my brother.
Love you too.
Mhm.